Okay, well today we're with Pat Hume, recently elected supervisor for Sacramento County, and welcome aboard and welcome to the Delta. And you're an Elk Grove City Supervisor prior, right?
Oh, I was a City Council member.
City Council member.
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah. So Elk Grove's we consider part of the Delta, and you're right on the edge of the river there. So we think that's a good thing, and I look forward to working with you over the years. We had a great relationship with Don Natoli,
yeah.
and we want to expand on that with you. So
great.
That's great. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, thank you, Bill. I enjoy being down here, first of all. Spent many a summer day right outside where we are here at Wimpy's, houseboating, water skiing, playing on the sandbar that's in the river out there. And so yeah, this was kind of the expanded backyard for me growing up in Elk Grove. My mom's family has been in the Elk Grove area since just after World War II, and I moved there personally after my dad died in the line of duty. He was an Air Force officer, and that was when I was 5, so in 1977. Wow. So I've grown up in Elk Grove. I'm the closest thing to a native son as you can get without actually being born and raised there. And then in my adult life, I was on the Elk Grove Planning Commission for 5.5 years, and then ran for City Council. I served on the City Council for 16 years, and when Don announced his retirement, looked up to Don pretty much my whole life, as he and Toby Johnson is kind of the standard bearer of what a public servant ought to be. And so that was the only other position that I ever thought about for elected office. I'm a local government kind of guy. I like rolling up my sleeves and doing the work and meeting the people whose lives my decisions are going to affect. And so I was fortunate enough to earn Don's endorsement during the campaign. So wow. He kind of tapped me as his preferred successor, which meant a lot. And the voters agreed, narrowly, but they agreed.
That's all it takes.
Here I am, I think 61 days on the job.
Yeah, well, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Well, that's really wonderful. Like I said, we had a great relationship with Don Natoli, and look forward to the same thing with you.
Yep.
Don was a hands-on kind of guy too, so I really appreciated that. So, just a little about our chamber. We've been in existence since 1969, so a little over 50 years, and we service the whole Delta, including Sacramento County. And we cover the Sacramento River corridor quite a bit, and quite a few members up there. So. Yeah. Anyway, you've mentioned that you just came from Discover the Delta. I'm on the board of the Discover the Delta Foundation too.
Yeah.
And we're working on building the building down there. So maybe you could give us a little insight of what you guys were talking about down there.
Sure. I mean, it's a prime location right at the corner of Highway 12 and Highway 160. You have Solano County to the west and Contra Costa County to the south. And so for the population center that is the East Bay and South Bay, that's really their gateway to the Delta. And so it's a prime opportunity to have a little bit part museum, part visitor center, and part kicking off point for people to explore the Delta again. And that's really what I hope to see happen, is that we can reinvigorate a lot of the life that used to take place down here. And it's a gym that's in the backyard of a lot of folks that they may not even know it's here, and how much there is for them to explore and do.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that's an ideal location. Ken's been working on that for like 15 years now, so hopefully we'll get it moving.
Yeah.
It is basically the gateway to the Delta from anybody coming from the west or the south. So it's
sure.
Good. So.
Yeah, you've got the old sugar mill in Clarksburg and kind of Freeport as your northern gateways, and that would be the southern gateway. And a lot of fun land to explore in between.
So there's quite a few small towns along the Sacramento River. And so you cover Clarksburg. That's in Sacramento County too, right?
Clarksburg's actually in Yolo County.
Oh, is it?
It's on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. So Freeport would be the first town, and then in Sacramento County that is kind of on the border between my district and Supervisor Kennedy's district, and then from there would be Hood, and then Cortland, then Walnut Grove, or actually Cortland, then or Locke, and then Walnut Grove, then Isleton.
Yeah, Walnut Grove. Does that cover 2 counties then, Yolo and Sacramento, or is it?
That's a good question. No. Actually, it doesn't, because Sacramento County bends around and takes in the island over there.
Okay.
Is that Ryer Island, I think? So where the bridge crosses the river, that's still Sacramento County when you
Grand
land on the
Island,
other side.
maybe.
Grand Island, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly
So
right.
the Grand Island Mansion, that's in Sacramento County too?
It sure is.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. The boundaries have always been a little bit obscure.
Well, you get down here, and it's kind of like when you're driving the river road that you think the river should be on this side of out your car, and instead it's on that side, and you think maybe you're lost, but no, it's just because you crossed over or you're on a slough as opposed to the main channel.
I've kept my boat down here. Actually, I kept it at 5-star marina, or not 5-star, but a marina way over in Yolo County for years, and I frequently get lost trying to find it on the roads, but I know my way around pretty well now.
Good, and hopefully you recognize the riverbanks as well. So you...
Yeah. I've got an older boat, so it doesn't have a flying bridge, but so I see the river and everything. I don't see the farmlands around it. But anyway, so I'm at Oxbow Marina now, which is in Sacramento County.
Nice.
So
Good.
Nice people there.
Yeah.
Well, how about Locke? That's one of our places that we have some members. The citizens asked me to ask you if you know what's going on with their grant they had to do the sidewalks.
Sure.
Apparently there's money funded, but the sidewalks are still in disrepair, I guess.
Yeah. So Locke is first of all, what an amazing gem. The history of it, the quaintness of it. The boarding house museum that's there that really is a great spot for families to explore. And then, you also have Al's and some of the shops down on the main street and the Locke Garden they only do takeout now, which is unfortunate, but great Chinese food. The Locke Management Corporation was started as a quasi-public agency in order to essentially govern the community of Locke, which is on the National Heritage or Historic Places.
Here they've gotten a grant to repair their sidewalks, which is kind of critical because there's a lot of tourists that go there, and I don't think anybody wants to slip and fall or a trip on a loose board or anything. So can you enlighten us a little bit about what's going on there?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, obviously the liability of having the sidewalks and the boardwalks and the stairs being in a state of disrepair is an issue. The county did award a $100,000 grant to the Locke Management Corporation. That grant has been issued. The check has been cashed. They have the money. Hopefully they will identify contractors to come in and do the work. I think this all happened before I assumed office, but I think the reasoning behind that was that by the management corporation being able to issue the contracts and contract for the work directly, it might take some of the bureaucracy that would have happened at the county level out, and so hopefully they can hire some local contractors, which is good for the local economy.
Sure.
Obviously is of less expense to the taxpayers, make the money go a little further. And so, I would expect that some work ought to be done this summer once the weather warms up a little bit. And like I say, they can stretch that $100,000 as far as they want. Really, with respect to the oversight and the auditing that will be done, as long as it's put to public use for the public rights of way, there's a lot of leeway as far as how they can spend it.
Are they going to replace it with wood, you think, the way it is?
I don't know anything about the designs. I don't even know, truthfully, the worst areas. I was down there, and obviously you have some tripping hazards and some rotted out boards and these types of things that I would hope would be the highest priority. But as I say, it's really up to that body how they want to issue the contracts, what they want to identify and prioritize and spend that money and make the best use of it.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. I hope they get going on that. It'd be really good.
I do too. I mean, it's, the money's there, so by all means, put it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just had dinner there a few weeks ago.
Nice.
It's a great place. Yeah, Locke's there's so many little charming nuances about the whole thing. Jean had mentioned Martha in her place there, the Locke boarding house. No, that's not the Locke B&B.
Oh, right.
But
right.
Anyway, she's got a charming little place there and serves root beer floats and has a player piano. So it's
nice.
In fact, I had people come from Ohio that wanted to go there, and we went in and messed around for a while.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the great promises of the Delta is for people coming from outside the region. to get to experience a little bit of what makes this place so unique. But also the fact that you've got the whole population of Sacramento, the Central Valley, the Bay Area. This is right in their backyard for a day trip, but also to come and spend the night and enjoy a couple days here, visiting wineries, getting off the beaten path, seeing some of these little historical areas. You know, Ileton is another town that I think is hopefully going to see a little bit of a resurgence. I'm glad to see the Crawdad Festival coming back.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I'm glad to see a little more investment happening in Main Street again. And so, you know, to the extent that these communities that, you know, used to have these great festivals, the Pear Festival in Cortland, you know, these are all great opportunities for people who maybe don't even know that this gym exists to come and experience it, and then maybe want to come back and spend a little more time and let a couple dollars fall out of their pocket while they're here.
Yeah,
you know,
that's all we ask for.
Yeah, there you go.
Just a little bit.
That's it.
Yeah, we actually, I'd say probably 20% of the calls we get are people in like the Sacramento area talking about, yeah, I hear this thing, the Delta down there, is that by the river? And so we direct them down Highway 160 to stop at all the little towns.
Yeah.
You know, just, I know it's Solano County, but Rio Vista Foster's Bighorn is a famous restaurant that's been there forever, and I'm sure you've been there many times too. But so we get calls from all over the U.S. about that. So that's interesting. Yeah, I would hope. I remember the last time I was in Foster's Bighorn, the mounts, all the stuffed animals, were starting to look a little dusty and a little long in the tooth, and so hopefully there might be an effort to renovate or reinvigorate them, bring them back to kind of their original glory, because it's a neat experience to be in that main dining room with all those animals around you. Yeah. It's probably one of the biggest collections of taxidermy in the U.S., I imagine, and probably the biggest private collection, I would think. Yeah. Maybe some Texas oil man has something better, but I don't know. They may, but not that the public can come sit and have a drink and an experience. Sure. Yeah. Very good. So is the Ride Hotel, is that in Sacramento County? Or? It is. It is. That's on Grand Island. That's on Grand Island. Yeah. We just, by the way, we just had our mixer there, and we had one at Al the Wasp before that. I'll put you on our mailing list, so you're always invited to come. We do it monthly, but we do it all over the whole Delta, but we do them in Sacramento County whenever we can. I'd love that. I knew one of the former owners of the Ride Hotel. She's since moved up to Oregon. But it's a great, Art Deco era, speakeasy history. They're in the Grand Island Mansion, obviously, as another spot. And then there's, a lot of new places popping up, little event centers. Just past Delta Diamond Farm, right down here by Ileton. There's one up there by Scribner Bend Winery that's a new event space, and so a lot of these that are really encouraging more tourism. And then, obviously agritourism is becoming a big thing. And really kind of trying to figure out how we can blend, the tourist trade, if you will, and still allow farming to be productive and viable. So there's that interface. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, agritourism is a big thing. I worked on a task force down in San Joaquin County a while back to enhance that. So it's the latest fad, I think. Well, it is. It kind of speaks to people's desire to have a little more authenticity. Obviously the farm to fork or the grow local or efforts that I think it all plays into one another. Sure. Yeah. You've been to Tony's in Walnut Grove? I've been there, not in a while. Yep. I drop in there once in a while. I tell you, they have really good food during the day too. Oh, it's a great lunch spot. Yeah. So, anyway, that's another place you walk in and it looks pretty much like it was in the 50s. Absolutely. Pat, one of the big problems we face in the Delta is the traffic on Highway 160 and 12 seems to increase more and more exponentially. The accidents seem to be increasing a lot. We've tried to hold a couple meetings with Caltrans, and for one reason or another they got canceled, and I wrote to the Caltrans director, as a matter of fact, about over a year and a half ago. I never got any response from him. I don't know what the solution is. I know on Google Maps they use the Delta highways as a commuter as a cut thing. So so we send a lot of excess vehicles through there. But has the Sacramento County had any involvement in that? When I was on the campaign trail and coming down and visiting the communities down here in the Delta, one of the meetings I attended was down on Sherman Island, very tip of Sacramento County, literally right before the bridge going over into Contra Costa.
And it was meeting with Caltrans, with CHP, and their issue down there is the road has been improved to the point to where now there's nice shoulders that if people decide you're going too slow, they just go around and pass on the shoulder.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Very dangerous. And then up here in this stretch, it's a different situation where the roads are so narrow and they've got a K-rail protecting you from going in the river, but maybe you're going to drop off on the levee side, and the roads themselves are in a bad shape. And so, when I met with the folks down here, the issues in the Delta, there were three that kept coming up, and at least two of them are interrelated, and that is the quality of the roads and the overall safety and the increase in traffic, the amount of law enforcement presence or first responder availability to happen, to be when something bad happens, and then the quality of broadband or internet, in order to have that critical communication, if there's a natural disaster or some sort of tragedy, to be able to make sure that you've got good capacity for reaching people. So there's not an easy solution, and the problem, as you referenced with the navigation maps, is they don't care about the communities. They care about what's most fuel efficient, what's most time efficient, and what's going to get people from where they are to where they want to be.
Sure.
Right? And so we've seen a pretty significant increase, I think, in folks that are using 160, which was never intended as a true highway system. I mean, it is a state highway, obviously, but it was never intended to handle that volume of traffic. And the problem is that as that increases, I find that it's human nature that with the increase of traffic comes an increase of frustration.
Yeah,
and so frustration causes people to do stupid things, and stupid things causes accidents and causes tragedies. And so it's something that we're going to have to figure out how we address. One, from a standpoint of making sure that the roadway system is in good repair and able to accommodate at least normal traffic. Two, we've got to do something to increase the presence of law enforcement down here, so we can, hopefully curb some of those bad behaviors.
It used to, and I realize the budgets have been cut, but the Highway Patrol, they used to have a really good presence down here. I remember driving through Walnut Grove with a stop sign there. I'd say half the time I'd drive through there'd be a Highway Patrol car waiting for people running through the stop sign, but you rarely see them anymore. Yeah,
I think it's one of those things that the resources get stretched thinner and thinner, and priorities move elsewhere. And I've always said, if you show me your checkbook, I'm going to show you your priorities. And so we're spending money on other things instead of maybe on what we could do. And then the other thing is and this is kind of a byproduct of the world we live in right now, is there's such a shortage of workforce willing to take on those jobs, and particularly in law enforcement. I know I was having a meeting with the undersheriff the other day, and they mentioned they have 400 deputy sheriff's positions funded that they can't fill.
Wow.
Because we live in a world where we demonize our police, and so why would a young person want to take on that career for us?
Because that's Sacramento County?
That's in Sacramento County, and to
Yeah.
me, that would probably be the easiest way to make it more tenable from a cost perspective, give more presence down here in the Delta. My gosh, if we get some of the young people growing up to want to go into that profession, where then they could take their squad cars home with them at night, that increases your presence, it increases the possibility of shortening response time. It's a good paying career. And so it would enhance the overall quality of life down here. So that's one of the gaps that really needs to be bridged.
Yeah. When you were running for office, I remember we discussed this, but probably the singular biggest issue in the entire Delta, Sacramento County included, is the Governor Newsom's plan to divert the Sacramento River around it. Now they're planning to do a tunnel, but we've been opposing that ever since Arnold Schwarzenegger announced he was going to build a canal, and then after he went out of office, Jerry Brown was going to build two twin tunnels to divert the river, and then now Newsom has brought it down to one tunnel, but that'll in fact destroy the entire Delta. So, and I know Sacramento County, I believe, is on the county coalition to oppose that. So could you just maybe enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah, so Sacramento County is part of the 5 counties that are that we meet as the supervisors representing those counties that are in opposition to the tunnels. We recognize the decimation it will cause to the Delta as a viable agricultural region, as a heritage communities and the towns that are here, and also the ecosystem. It would be terrible for the actual biological situation of the Delta. Here's the thing: is every time this project rears its ugly head in whatever iteration and whatever new name they want to call it, Bay Delta Conservation, Twin Tunnels, whatever, and the community stands up and beats it back. It's like one of those little shell games, and they just bring it back and they go, well, now it's called this. And here's the bottom line: is it's complicated because you have water districts that own water rights to pull surface water off of the river. So you have to respect that. Those are legally binding contracts. What they're trying to do is to basically safeguard their interests by sticking their straw farther up in the system so that they're not reliant on the tidal influence of salination. They're not reliant on the levees actually holding and doing what they're supposed to do, so that they can pull their water off cleaner and farther up in the system. Yeah. Here's the thing that when I tell people, you see them like they didn't even realize the scope of what we were talking about. This tunnel would be so big, the volume of water they're talking about pulling off is equivalent to the flow of the American River every day. So now imagine the American River being bone dry, and that's the water you're taking out of the system. Now how can you tell me that by moving that further up the system, drawing that salt water deeper into the Delta, I mean, we're already seeing fish populations decline to where they're going to potentially cancel the salmon fishery for...
Yeah, I hear they might do it this year.
Yeah.
And I think during the drought, the X2 point where the ratio of sodium in the water moved up to Rio Vista from...
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
But, that'll be a total disaster.
So my whole contention is this, is that a solution to our water issues does not revolve around putting a larger straw into the same cup. We have to come up with new sources of water and not continue to decimate such a fragile ecosystem as the Delta.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's what we say. Let's create new water and not take the existing water and give it to the more equal people.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, listen, I've enjoyed meeting you, and look forward to working with you over the rest of your life and my life and our work careers anyway.
There you go.
Like I said, we had a good relationship with Don, and confident we'll have an excellent relationship with you too. So.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Pat.
Yeah, hi, my name's Brent, and this is my boat. Welcome aboard, and we just get together, like to come down and hang out and play some music a couple times a week, 3 times a week. It's a lifestyle that is irreplaceable, and you really can't get it anyplace else but right here in California. Absolutely exceptional. You meet great people. You meet all kinds of talent, all kinds of friends. Friends become family, and the next thing you know, you got 600 members of your family. So it's just a wonderful way of life. Couldn't ask for any more. Dean.
Hi, my name's Dean, and I down here at H-Dock playing guitar with Brent. We're having a cocktail and enjoying the evening and the sunset. And we like to just play and let happen what happens and have a good time.